I can use your feedback. Was it a worthy exercise to do? Did it help bring it together? Anything we should add in to scenarios to make it next time? If you think of anything later, if anybody thinks of anything later, turn on my. Will you email to the Nemo teams at Gmail if you think of things afterward that we might change in what we're doing, because this is the first time we've ever done something this long and this way. So, all right, so we're going to go over the scenarios. We got 1 hour left, or time to go over these. So what we thought we'd do is alternate. We'll do one team, and then we'll do an online. Then we'll do one team, and then we'll do it online. We'll pull the online ones up over here. So which team wants to go first? Right back here. What group are you? Group 2. So why don't you come up here? Oh, see. Oh, I need the microphone.
This your document?
Yes. And you have kind of from between that screen to about over here. All right, there you go.
Do you want to drive?
Basically, I'm just going to need you to scroll down.
Mhm.
So
You let me know.
You can do that.
all right. Am I?
It's on here.
You're on. Hold that up closer to your mouth if you're there.
Yep. All right, so I'm on?
Yep.
All right, so Group 2, Fire Prevention Mount Desert Island. The first thing we did was we created a hashtag, SaveMDI. So our objectives are to educate and inform the public, along with our first responders and the tourist industry, of the mitigation and fire potential that may arise. So first thing we also then did is our resources and partners on the island. And we have our town council, local fire department, a lot of good resources right there. National Park Service, based on Acadia, Maine Forest Service, Maine Emergency Management, Bureau of Tourism, Rotary, Chamber of Commerce. Along with that, we're gonna talk to community leaders, Maine State Fire Chiefs Association, local planners, event planners, we'll get into that in a little bit, police emergency services, local schools, media, utilities, we'll also get into that a little bit, the Northeast Compact, National Weather Service, and Department of Transportation. We're going to have a team of 3 to 4 people who are dedicated to this task, and they're going to be technologically savvy, and they're going to employ a boss behind the scenes to help manage the media as the summer goes along. Operations Facebook, we're going to have a Facebook page that looks a lot like the Maine Forest Service Facebook page, the way that it's managed, the way that it's maintained, the information that's posted. We're also going to do lead-ins between the blogger and Twitter. We have a really nice 1947's fire video, and so we're going to utilize 6 to 30-second video snippets of that, and then we're going to release that video online highlighting 1947 fires, building up that interest in that. We're going to collaborate with Acadia to highlight the 1947 fires, and along with that include mitigation and fire prevention messages. Twitter is going to be our little sound bites linking back. We're going to collaborate with our first responders on how to use social media, what our hashtag is, how to mention us, how to forward our information, what information we do not want to get out, how to forward the information we don't want to get out to us so we can manage it. We're going to reach out to major media prior to the major holidays so that maybe they will run little snippets of fire education, FireWise, and just what's going on the island. The Maine Forest Service also has a sim table that currently has the Bar Harbor overlay. We're going to videotape current fire weather conditions on the island, on the sim table, videotape that, and post it online showing today's weather, today's information. This is what's going to happen if the fire starts here. PSAs, we're going to include a QR code that can go right in the Bar Harbor and other town websites, so that links us right back to our blogger. And we're going to include our hashtag with that. We're going to include that on any print and media that goes out on TV and so on and so forth. We're also going to spend, if possible, some Google ad money. So when people Google restaurants, Mount Desert Island, Acadia, so on and so forth, our blogger pops up on the right-hand corner or in the yellow section on Google. We're going to ask our utility companies to put our fire prevention message with the hashtag and the QR code on the utility bill, because a lot of these people are from out of state. They're seasonal, but the bills get mailed to their home address. So they get that message, they get that hashtag before they even arrive on scene. We're going to utilize the schools, and we're going to do a fire prevention poster contest. But because of Common Core, part of the Common Core curriculum standards for technology, they're going to upload their posters onto Flickr per class, and then we can link that through Facebook and through our blogger to highlight the kids' work. Bar Harbor calendar events with Pinterest, where we can also have that highlighting the different folders with different information for our tourists and our seasonal residents. We're going to link on our stuff the Bar Harbor calendar events. And one of the things that we are thinking of doing is on the 4th of July, there's a 62-mile relay. And we're going to potentially contact a local water distribution company like Poland Springs to see if they'll put our hashtag or the QR code right on the water bottles, and if they're going to help sponsor this relay. And so then all the people involved will get our message also. We're going to contact Acadia to see if in their visitor center they'll include information for us, so on and so forth. Our blogger page are going to be our main archive of all our information, and we're going to have multiple pages. We may have to shrink this some, but we're going to have a map right on the top, and on that map is going to have our overlays as the summer goes along with our fire danger, our gadgets, our burn permits are allowed, red flag warnings, weather for the day. We're going to have different pages within that, such as what do you mean by, what happens when, did you know, and then specific pages for each community. So we have the different communities that need to be targeted. And then one of the other ones is what happens, go up just 1 second. What happens when. On that site is going to also have our evacuation plans and so on and so forth. And this information can then be like on the what happens when, the what do you mean by, and did you know, if needed, can all be on one page. And above the fold topic earlier is the what do you mean by and what happens when can be the beginning of the summer, and then what happens when can go up as September rolls around. So it's new information, but all the information's still there. And then we're going to, basically the big ones are Twitter, Flickr, Facebook, and I forgot to include Blogger at the bottom. And that's our...
I'm in awe. That was about as thorough as it gets. I don't even have anything to add to that. You guys, that's amazing. No, I mean, you use the tools in innovative ways. QR codes on water bottles, if you can get that done. Putting them with the utility bills, great idea, especially when you're trying to get to a remote audience that their houses are there, but their bodies are elsewhere. So following the bodies and putting the QR codes in there, that was amazing. Very thorough. I'm impressed. That was great. Thank you. So,
Any questions from y'all?
any feedback from all of you? Besides,
Right.
I mean,
Go back, go make a good comment first. Go home now.
All right, so let's check out somebody's
so now we're
online.
going to do a one of the online scenarios. We'll just read through, since they're not here to represent themselves. We'll just open any one and slide it over here.
This is not from somebody in here, correct?
There's not someone in here, right? Augusta Planners?
Planners, no.
Okay. I don't know who Augusta Planners are, but
Augusta Planners, if you're listening right now, I'm going to open up a comment stream here,
we want to show you something else you can do on
right down here. If you have anything to add to what we read through here, please go ahead and open up your comment stream within this document.
we want to use this because we want you to know if you're using Drive collaboratively with someone that's not in a room with you, there's a chat feature so you can talk about what you're typing. You don't have to type it into the page to talk to them. There's a little chat feature. So if Augusta is watching, some of the people online headed off to different things after they did this. But so their audience is homeowners, campers, secondary businesses, public safety. They're using Keep Maine Green as 15 for their hashtag, encouraging people to subscribe to their newly created Maine Forest Rangers Twitter account. I thought that said forest strangers. I was going to say that's a whole different thing. Google Plus and blog, along with the established Facebook page. Tweet daily fire danger. Educational YouTube videos, including the YouTube watch. By the way, I like the idea and the other one of using the I assume you're using the 1947 fire as a this could happen again kind of thing, and having snippets of that you can throw out on all those little sites is an excellent idea. Ask Acadia National Park and Campgrounds to follow Keep Maine Green and post prevention photos with QR codes. Good. Daily fire danger info and video to proper campfire prevention. This is. Promote public dialogue. Posting an Instagram photo contest of best fire prevention landscape, like we said, that'd be a good idea. Contact landscape companies, encourage them to follow. I think there is a way to even more involve landscape companies or people who do that kind of work. I don't know if here there are, but in a lot of other places, there are landscape companies that specialize in Firewise landscaping, and there may be some here.
Sorry.
Weekly briefings to local fire departments, other locals, they'd be recorded and posted to social media channels. That's another good idea. Weekly press releases on concerns of fire danger and what people can do. And I would say, and again, the social media piece of this part is obviously copies of those to your blog, your Facebook page, and those sorts of things to give it more. And then, of course, provide the historical impact. Promoting the staff ride. I didn't even know they had a staff ride. That's a great thing. Using the staff ride as a way to show people the learning that came out of the first fire and other devastating fires on the island. Nice job.
So far, Augusta Planners has not shared anything new.
They might not be there, so.
That's okay. So that's that. We will move on to the next one unless
Okay.
anyone has any comments or questions.
Who's going next in here?
After that display? Kidding me?
Sean, what group are you in? What group are you
You
in?
just been rolling.
Type it.
You don't have to type it. We were merely offering this as
I'm
a.
actually live. I was actually in her group.
You can't switch groups now.
No, you said Sean, what group you were in too? Pull up the.
No,
Sean was in group 2.
no.
Maine Forest Service says, nope, I think that does it.
Oh, there you go. They are on there.
Andy, can you pull up
Is
pull
this
up
gonna be a
the
video?
class Twitter feed, please?
Class Twitter feed.
And you'll find our outline is on that.
Oh, the class Twitter feed.
Crack look like it's gold. Yeah.
This it right here?
Yeah.
That is it.
There we
Come
go.
here.
Let's see.
Now that's what I
Hold
call
up,
using the tools. Let's see if we can actually see
see if we
read that.
can- This
There
was
we
a
go.
test for you to see if you could get this to get bigger.
There you go.
Hello to my Canadian friends. We will not forget you in our plan. Because we understand that you are coming a long way.
You can't read it. I'll put this over here.
So, our communication strategy introduction is to effectively disseminate information to the public, media, and all other interested persons and parties in both internal and external audiences in a timely, consistent, and appropriate manner. So who are our audiences internally? Maine Forest Service, Acadia National Park, the IMT that's assigned, and all assigned resources. External would be homeowners, tourists, U.S. tourists, as well as foreigners. So our information would actually also have to be in French as well as English. Why is that? Statistically, it is proven that if you do not give people safety messages or important information in their language, they are not interested. Only 7.5%, according to social media in Canada, will actually read Facebook over and over if it's not in French. That's in Quebec, the Empire, as well as the other municipalities. All right.
Empire.
And that's the Empire because they
You
know
need to
about
back up so we get the
it.
light
All
on
right.
here.
Oh, I'm not.
We need light on it.
Too dark. All right. I got that. That will be on the EEO social media complaint. They held the sign up back up, just so you know. I was watching. Okay, so the external audiences, foreigners, PD, the U.S. Coast Guard, because they'll be in the waters, municipal officials, cruise ships, because understandably, I think they come into that plan as well. Local businesses, and who's that other person I have there? Adjacent ports, adjacent ports, for evacuation purposes. Key messages. So this time of the year, we figure that we need to get ahead of people and let them understand why we're actually giving them this warning. So it would be based upon the NOAA weather forecasts that are predicted for ahead of time. So we would refer to that, the 1947 Bar Harbor fire, which would be something that was brought out before that people would have to understand why we're doing this. And so over the months, we would talk about preparedness and the steps. In April, we'd give out information on Firewise. And then we would get into May, the county's evacuation plan and weather predictions that would be coming up in the future based upon how the weather was actually going. The communication tools and methods, we would use Gmail, email, meetings, which could be used with Twitter chat, virtual, blogs, Facebook pages, phone, because it's not all about social media, a press release if need be, web pages, Google Drive, and any other form of information that the team would need. Externally, we'd use Google outlets such as, we could also use town meetings, trap lines, TV, radio, because not everyone uses social media. Newspaper, camp boards, because obviously there would be camp boards at the national park, which there usually are, and in towns. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, blogger.com, QR codes, GIS maps, reverse 911 calls for evacuation times if that is needed on the island, VOS, Instagram, what was that, FPET? Very good, that was a test. Press conferences and scheduled tweets so that the information would come out accordingly how we needed it. Then we would also use the historic documentaries with the URL code using a QR code from YouTube, and the NOAA maps for forecasts, obviously, where people could refer to that as well. How would we monitor the effectiveness? We would look into using VOS, the media, our resources, officials, the public, TweetDeck, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and any other form of social media. Now, the thing is that the other group was going all the way until September. We were ending after the fire danger of May. Having this information still on, we would demo because we would have to save the taxpayers' money, because we would not be allowed to be hired throughout all that time. And that's it.
Applause for the next group. Again, the good thing to see here is you guys are using all of the things that we talked about. And the only thing I would say about this plan, which has all of those things, is usually when you're trying to build a social media strategy tiered to your objectives, you need to talk about, we know you're going to do press, how are you going to use the tools to support specific things? Like saying we're going to use Instagram is good, but use Instagram to do what? It's helpful to be more specific about exactly what you're going to use it for, but you've included all of the tools, and I like the fact that you have not eliminated, as we said before, you don't eliminate the traditional ways of talking to people. Those still exist. Social media is here to support those and to take them farther. The old way is a press release. The new way is, how do I take the press release farther? And how do I use all-day information coming out to support with the press release being the wrap-up in the evening? So all I would encourage you to do is be more, it's good to have key messages, but with your tools and methods is to say exactly what will you do with each of those new, like a QR code for each key message. We'll load them to Drive, create a URL, we'll use the QR, and then we'll put the QR codes on paper bags in the grocery. You need to take it another step. That's all I'm saying. Take another step to be more specific. The reason is because it's great while the person who thought of it is there. If they get sick and go home, who's going to carry through with it? Somebody needs to know something more specific. But I love the way you guys have included it, and remember to monitor your effectiveness. That's a critical part. Is how well did it work? Because people are going to say, okay, we gave you all the money to do this. Now, what? Tell us whether it worked or not. So that's great. Okay, so let's do another online one. Who do we have next, Bob?
Denise.
Denise
Wesley
from
Fire
Wesley
Communication
Fire.
Plan.
Denise, if you're on, there's a comment box off to one side, and you can chat with us and let me know if I'm saying anything wrong here. Wesley Fire Community, provide accurate and timely information regarding the firearm strategies, Set up InciWeb, contact email list for press releases and other stuff, Facebook and Twitter page and Twitter for the fire, work with the IC for the message content, establish a trap line, find out from the community how they get their information via what medium, start a good communication dialogue via Trapline, Facebook, and Twitter. Create QR codes for the Trapline and IAPs. Good idea. We forgot to mention that. You can. Many teams do that now. They put a QR code on the IAP. Another idea, logistics does sometimes. They create. They put QR codes on equipment like pumps and things like that, so that people can scan them and know where it goes, when who took it out. All that kind of stuff is associated with it. Start good communication dialogue with the community via Trapline, Facebook, and Twitter. Create QR codes for the we already did that. Set up a strategy with operations to provide photo and video footage from the line and air to feed to the incident PIOs for sharing on communication avenues. Now I would ask that, how? That would be my follow-up. How would you share this with the PIO to feed to the incident PIOs? Maybe you would feed it on Twitter. Maybe you would set up an internal Twitter account for the PIOs to use to talk to each other. I don't believe you can send video and GroupMe or photos or anything. So
you can send photos.
But you could send photos. But my question would be, if you're going to send video feed to them, how would you do that? Largest audience affected by fire closures right now are the hunters. I didn't think about those guys. Create a user group for this targeted audience via the best medium based on feedback. So she's saying, I'm assuming this is a she, you would talk to that user group, find out what's the best way to communicate with them, and then create, I'm assuming, some way to talk to that group, a user group of those people. Encourage dialogue and closely monitor social media accounts in Gmail to continually improve our communication. Ensure accurate maps are available of fire perimeter and closure areas as they change, I would say. And so what are you going to do with your maps? What creative ways do you have to utilize social media? Where and how are you going to put those maps? How are you going to make them more interactive? Any layers you're going to build yourself? You're going to build your own map? You're going to get it from GIS? How are you going to do that? These are pretty common objectives for the PIO shop. The question is, how do we tie all of our social media to it? Internally, very good. All PIOs are connected via mobile devices using group texting to keep everyone informed. So they are using group texting, which is probably GroupMe or something like that. The minimum of 4 PIOs and the lead to cover 2-3 trap lines and monitor post-communication venues. Again, a great communication strategy. It's got some social media in it. What I would say is all you really need, most people have some kind of comm strategy. If you go in under each one and ask yourself how, go in under each point how, and get as detailed as you can about, it's easier to think about these things and ideas ahead of time than it is in the heat of the moment when there's smoke in the air. But they're covering all the bases here, including things we hadn't thought of, the outfitter and guide services, and how many PIOs you're going to need to take care of some of these things, and having good dialogue with people. That covers everything. Is Denise on?
No, she is not in.
Who's that?
Gerard,
Oh,
is there, but not Denise.
Hello, Gerard. Okay. And let's see. How many more of these do we have?
At least 4 or 5 more, I would say.
Okay,
go
let's
ahead
do
and
another
these.
one in here.
I think this one's empty. It's not really saying
Not
much.
really started.
I don't even know who this is. Sheila Larson. So we'll go skip the next one here.
Okay. This one is from Mr. Hosking. I believe it's a Mr. because I thought I saw his Twitter or Skype name. Provide an accurate history of past events, including differences between now and then. Build a blog, have a section to educate about the 47 fire. Include an interactive map to show the boundaries of the fire and where possible link to the damage caused by that fire. And I'm sure there are pictures of damages caused by that fire you could link to. Discuss in the blog the concept of defensible space and how it can protect your property. Great. Begin laying the groundwork for communication through social media to local residents. Establish hashtags you use in the event of a fire. Use the hashtags to push information about the fire and fire prevention. As part of this message, advertise your media strategy so they'll know where to go and what to look for in the event of a major fire. That's, all of this prevention stuff is about here's what will happen when and here's what we'll do when, and people feel good knowing I've been told what I'm supposed to do. So really pushing everything they can expect to happen helps develop their calmness about it. Establish ongoing messages, Facebook and Twitter, to get people used to going to those platforms. That's a very good idea, driving people to those so they know, come here, this is where you'll come when something happens. Attract followers now to maximize your reach in the future. Excellent. Establish Instagram and illustrate defensible space by cooperating with local residents and businesses. Have these examples provide before and after. Great, to show the visual impacts. I'm assuming, I don't know if they mean before and after doing the defensible space or before and after a fire. I'm hoping they mean defensible space. Establish healthy communication with local residents. Participate in comments through Facebook, social media as a medium for Fire Friday trivia questions. Great idea. Establish a time to post prevention question and monitor comments and feedback. Excellent idea. Can I see the last one? There we go. Work with businesses and tourism to educate them on where to go for accurate information on the current situation. Again, new good ideas. You could do that trivia question both on Facebook and on Twitter at the same time, posting those in different locations. I should say someone else online, forgive me for not remembering who it was on email, had to go, but suggested communication on Twitter with the cruise traffic. If remember we mentioned cruise ships coming in throughout the summer, every one of the Holland, all those cruise ships have Twitter accounts. So it would be possible to work with them on Twitter to inform cruise ship passengers. And I will say it's also possible when cruise ships come in to go in. We used to ride buses in Yellowstone. We'd get out at one point, talk to the tourists as they went on the bus, get off, the PIs would pick us up, go back to the beginning, get on the bus, ride with the bus, do your lecture. It was a little lecture about fire in Yellowstone, things like that. So same thing with cruise ship passengers. They have educational lectures you can get on, talk to people about what's going on before they get off, and then you can take pictures, you can tweet that, you can do all kinds of with it, and you could tweet it to the other cruise ships and the other kinds of things. So that might be another avenue to do. That was good. That was good. Let's see. Is this one from Lynn, or is Lynn in here?
Lynn, are you in
This
here?
says, it says LL, Lynn Lockwood.
Yeah.
Okay, so collect agency contacts and see what they have in place. Forest Service, Acadia National Park, Towns of Hulls Cove, Salisbury Town, all those, right? Historic inns, find their Facebook, Twitter, good. There are emergency responders, law enforcement, cruise lines entering the area. Homeowner associations, communities, tourism agencies, businesses providing services to tourists, all those. So we're trying to gather all those to see what's already going on. Engage all the above so the contacts are in place for education, incidents, cultivate and train potential VOSTers. It's an ahead of time thing. You rarely just build that in the moment. Settle on some hashtags and branding. Build and schedule tweets, Facebook posts, etc., and share with the above list. I think the suggestion, not positive, that she means is if you share all of your tweets and posts, if you have some built and scheduled, you can share them with some of your cooperators, can also help you push out so everyone has one voice and everyone is on the same messages. Monitor and monitor and respond. Try some Pinterest posts. You could do Acadia images, preparation, prevention, travelers, make a Smoky Bear Yonder. I don't even know what Smoky Bear Yonder is. Account, and have him post island images and notes.
Oh, how cool.
Maybe Yonder's a tool. Does anyone?
It is. It's
okay.
it's an app, I think, for this.
Okay,
Forest
so
Service
Smoky
has.
Bear has an account, and have him post. I would warn you not to use the Forest Service image while making a Smoky Bear account because There's already a Smokey Bear on Facebook associated with the Forest Service. Kids are still in school. Smokey says, keep your mom safe Mother's Day. Send Smokey to create cruise ships. Learn from Carol McCurdy and save her plan as a template. Another good template in the image below. Thanks to all with all the structured plans I can save for the future. That is so funny. Thank you, Lynn.
Something out of it.
Yes,
Lynn says, thanks to all for the structured plans I can save for the future.
And I think that's part of why we wanted to share these, was because we want you to be able to get ideas that you see here. If something happens in your area and you want to do that, these are very useful for that. How many more do we have?
Not very many. We got group 1, group 2, 3.
We have one more group. We'll do one more.
I've got 3 more plus the last group.
Okay, do one more here, and then we'll go to there. And here's Kara's that apparently is very good. Kara, I don't know if you're around. If you're on, you can come in and go to the comment section. Goal, use a coordinated approach, guided interagency outreach efforts for wildfire prevention to reduce human-caused wildfires in Maine. Got most of the same targeted. They also mentioned local water commission, local Department of Environment on alternatives to burning. Department Environment? Is that like an environmental department? Maybe that's what that means. Alternatives to burning, local volunteer fire departments, always important. And of course, state and local government, most of the rest are the same. Objective, primary objective to coordinate with Acadia National Park and is that U.S. Forest Service, or is there something else called?
Probably.
Okay, U.S. Forest Service and Fire Service to establish a system whereby fire prevention will be a coordinated effort. Provide consistent fire prevention restriction closure messages in a timely manner to public and media, and support ongoing fire prevention efforts already underway at the district level. Because, yeah, there already are some underway, I would guess. Deliver and assist PIO local agency liaison prevention in prevention messages through Trapline, social media, local media. Again, that's an objective. What I'm saying is how, in terms of what social media you do, how will you accomplish this with your social media? Because this is a social media plan, not so much a communication strategy. These are great communication strategies. Strive to improve effective partnerships and community relationships. Use agency resources, subject matter experts, okay? And how are you going to do that using social media? How are you going to support that? Establish the top causes of wildfire and the current situation, focus and local conditions are, and derive prevention messages to reflect those. That's how you would come up with them. And then do what with them on social media? Enhance current prevention program in the lead agency. Messaging in stages, notification or story on past fire history, forecast the upcoming season, alternatives to burning, what they can do when it gets dry. Here's our methodology. Develop new posters and messages in correlation, current conditions, community agencies applied focus. Establish any existing current community, Facebook, Twitter, Flickr that we can use locally that already have followers we can deliver messages to. Great. If, like the ones that we did in Funny River, where we leveraged the people who already had pages, we would have just sent them our messages and pages and said, could you push these out on your pages? We don't have to own every page. Monitor existing for both positive, constructive feedback, correct anything misleading, ensure users know posting rules and guidelines. Made page, that's on your page. I was going to say you can't really make them correct their information or have rules and guidelines for someone else's page, but on your page you can. Find local prevention-related community members, media volunteers willing to assist on trap lines and messaging ideas. That's sort of a informal VOST, if you can leverage community members to help you push out messaging. Dedicated person to monitor, absolutely, all of the usual sites. Ask the host agency to bring in a fire prevention team. I think you are the fire prevention team in this case. Maybe she's speaking as the lone person in charge. In this case, you are the team. To assist in delivery of social media meetings, track the usage, yes. Develop a team logo so people know the logo is linked to wildfire prevention. That you are going to need an avatar for all these, otherwise you're going to have the egghead for everything if you don't have something. Smokey Bear is always effective, yes, but there are rules about using Smokey Bear. Establish team safety while delivering products. That's good to think of. Know your delegation of authority and who's doing what. Archive data from social media sites including usage stats to use as a measurement tool of effectiveness. Make sure your local agency has a copy, yes. And mediums, we're using all the usual things, and QR codes, good. Again, when you're doing a social media strategy, it is not the communication strategy, it is tiered to the communication strategy. It is saying, how will I accomplish the things we normally do and, what's the word, integrate it into a social media strategy that integrates with what we normally do. That make sense? Great, all these things I would expect someone to have in their comm strategy. Great comm strategy does include social media. Okay, so is this group three?
Group 3.
Your turn? No one's volunteering? You have to present your group.
I guess I'm elected.
Well, I guess you don't have to. I'd like you to. There you go.
Should we stand back here?
Yep, stand back a little farther. There's no light coming in on your face if you don't. There you go.
We adopted a little different program, and we adopted a fire use strategy so that we could turn Mount Desert Island into blueberry fields again. So we didn't get quite down into the details some of the other groups did, but we had a social media strategy. An overall strategy was to gather pertinent information for public dissemination, and also to raise public awareness of the fire danger, the impending fire danger. So we broke it down into some objectives prior to May, because we were focusing on May and we wanted to get this done before we were actually in full gear. So develop a local cooperator group consisting of National Park Service, Maine Forest Service, local EMA response agencies, outfitters, Mount Desert Island Tourist Bureau. We're thinking that's the name of them. And the group may also include the cruise line contact and local business representatives, because we thought it was important to get this cruise line that's coming in engaged also. Use traditional and social media to communicate coordinating messages, leverage existing community Facebook and Twitter pages which already exist, such as with Acadia National Park and the Maine Office of Tourism and MEMA agencies. We also wanted to create a blog for current conditions and provide links to the blog through other social media platforms and news conferences. Provide fire prevention and safety tips to the public based on current fire danger indices and daily updated links. So we wanted to provide existing links, such as the Maine Forest Service website where fire danger indicators and other places are, predictive services also. Monitor predictive services for future fire danger forecasts and conditions, and provide information for fire planning and tourism outlets. So we wanted to provide some of our cooperators that we mentioned with fire planning tools should something happen, along with tourism outlets which could predict maybe any burn bans or anything else that could affect their businesses. So we also felt it was important to monitor TweetDeck for public questions and responses to their concerns within 24 hours. We felt that through their communication to us that we wanted to get on any public concerns and address those as soon as possible. So we also created and posted local fire danger maps or links to Facebook, Twitter, blog, create QR codes for those maps, as well as to URLs for blog and pertinent websites. So establish and maintain a trap line at strategic points of public contact, such as where the boat is going to disembark into Bar Harbor. And with daily information and QR codes available to them when they get off the ship or at other places, campgrounds and other locations. And trap lines will include an explanation of how the social media is being used and QR code information, how they can access the QR code information. So.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Again, I think you have all of the content that you need. I would hope with a social media strategy, again, every time ask yourself, and how. And on some of these you did, and not all of them, but you did. But that was great. You're doing the things, the standard backbone kind of things, the blog, the Twitter, the Facebook page, and using QR codes. It's funny, I had someone create a lot of QR codes for one of those buses in Yellowstone, and then there were all people like over 70. They didn't know what a QR code. So, know your audience. That would be the other. They're handing out the business cards, and on the back there's a QR code, and they were like, I get the front where you wrote, the phone number. Some of us can email. So know your audience, but good job. How about we have two more?
Two more
ones?
online.
Let's see. M. Zenner Bertels. I think she had to go. Isn't that a she? Does anyone know?
Yes, it's a sh-
Okay. Let's see. During disaster events, beware of malicious social media. I need donuts. I have no final presentation. I'm not a PIO. This is hysterical. Okay, during the Ottawa shooting, ISIS tweets were using the Ottawa tag on Twitter, posting links to YouTube videos. Now what? That is true. Be careful someone hijacks your hashtag to use for something that's not great.
It has happened on numerous incidents now where the ISIS characters will, there's some call them spam accounts, some accounts are real accounts. What they're really doing is people are signing up. I read an article on this. I think it's on, I can't remember. Maybe if I can find the article, I'll put it in the cool links folder. But essentially, they had come up with this system where individual users would go up and sign up for an app. Essentially, that app would then take their Twitter account and start sending messages for them, and then those messages would then jump onto trending terms, which during a disaster your term is going to start trending. And so then all of a sudden these actual real accounts are now tweeting out these messages on your hashtag. Twitter just got into the CEO of Twitter, I believe, just got threats to him because they took some action against some of those accounts and knocked down a whole bunch of them. But in our current day and age, this is something we have to watch for.
And part of a social media strategy is you have to deal with if the bad things. How are we going to deal with negative posters? How are we going to deal with, what are we going to do if all the power shuts down? What are we going to do if all the cell towers shut down? What are we going to do because we rely on those things, and if you've already built the strategy and there's expectation that's where you'll be, and then you disappear, what are you going to do then? What are you going to do if someone hijacks your hashtag? What are you going to do if someone hacks your blog? You ought to at least you plan for the worst and hope for the best. I mean, that's what we're in the planning business. So thinking about what you're going to do will help you in the event that it actually does happen. Let's see. Talking about CERT locally, have the ability. I still think CERT is a great place to recruit VOST people. They already have an interest. They already have some training. And they're not always deployed. In fact, they lose CERT people because there's nothing for them. They don't ever get deployed. They don't do anything. Well, here's a way to engage them. Build a CERT. Offer them to the national fire teams. I'd use them. If they had at least a minimum of training, we'll get them trained up and we'll use them on a fire, and they'll be way better prepared when you have something happen. So areas, oftentimes you see initial reports of incidents via Twitter or Facebook prior to broadcast media presentation. The info can be passed back or to ham radio and then on to the EOC. We do. Sometimes it hits Twitter before it hits any kind of news media. If you've ever lost communications, you start discovering different means and forms of very quickly. What are your broadcast radio stations' backup and backup plan? You need 2 plans. That's what we were just talking about. What are you going to do if it all falls apart? Ham radio is something we use a lot in Alaska. It's built into a lot of EOC plans, ham radio, because a lot of areas in Alaska still survive on ham radio. Encourage local emergency management organizations to have a Twitter or Facebook. Many small city, towns, fires don't use it. Several larger jurisdictions have policies in place, but encouraging those smaller ones doing training. I love maps. I love Google Maps. Sharing maps, Google Docs, spreadsheets, social media can be great tools. And I'm telling you, maps are the king, as long as they're good maps and accurate maps and timely maps. For managing personnel locations, points of distribution, hazards, volunteer supplies. They're saying you can map all these things. And on that, building a My Map, putting it into a Google map, you can map all these things. Donation centers, where your supply centers are, where there are hazards, where you have points of distribution and shelter locations, real time. Twitter account should always have geotag location during disasters, and your profile information should include your primary location and other alternate. If you can encourage people to geotag their tweets, and we do during fire sometimes, because that allows you to to gather and have them posted on maps if you can manage to do that, and it makes it more accurate. Otherwise, if you don't know this, if it's not geotagged where you actually are, it's going to tier to your closest cell tower, which could be a long way away, and then it's not really where you are. Links to your Facebook, but these are things to include all your contact. If you're using Facebook, make sure your messaging feature is turned on and/or an email address provided. I have had that happen, and I know, maybe Nathan knows, sometimes there's an event page or a group page that not only can I not post on it to talk to them, there's no message link. And I don't know if they turn it off or if it depends on the type of page. But often have your message on, so if they need to private message you and don't want to put it on the main page, they can.
If I'm not mistaken, there's an internal setting that you can set to allow emails and private messages on your page.
And one thing to know about messages, and I only discovered this last year, if someone that doesn't know you and isn't a friend is emailing you, because I have mine open so anyone can find me. When you find me, there's a message thing. You can send me a friend request or a message, even if you don't know me and even if you're not my friend. But when they send you the message, it doesn't come to my main messages. If you open your messages on Facebook and you look over one tab, there's other. And I had a list of all these people under other that I didn't know were talking to me because I didn't even know it was over there. I was used to seeing messages I didn't even know people who weren't friends could message me directly. So you can message someone you're not friends with, but if they message you that way, you have to know to look in the other column. Establish a local trusted following on Twitter or social media, maintained through the engagement. Monitor local keywords. That's a good idea. Is finding out what are the hashtags they're using locally, because you have to monitor those. Tweet using hashtags, location, the town, the city, county, state, who, what, when, where included in the tweet. Create Twitter lists. Oh, look, she created her Twitter list. Twitter map of weather accounts. There's her Twitter list. Oh, she's over in Washington. Beach house weather. I think she's got weather Twitter map of weather accounts. Yep. And then examples of major media outlets' poor use of social media during a disaster. Let's see. About evacuation in Carbon River. The location is wrong. The river is not over there. Yeah, you want to...
Actual location of the flooding. I guess. I'm guessing that's what they're getting
I'm guessing
at.
there's a difference. Yeah, having your map be accurate is critical. If you don't have to put out very many maps that are wrong before nobody cares about seeing your maps anymore.
And that's
So
that.
good ideas. Good ideas. It's a nice way to convey your thoughts when you're not actually here. We can see what people are thinking. And which is this one? Quebecer strategy. Marie-Louise Gerard from the Empire. Excellent. The Empire of Quebec brings us establish key messages, forecasted weather, create awareness of the history and that it's possible again. Are you prepared? What can you do? Tips, fires, firewise. Identify your target audiences, residents, tourists, outdoor enthusiasts. I'm guessing park is park. Local businesses and forestry workers. Objectives to, after you close that, I can see what they're actually saying. Create public awareness of wildfires and the threat they pose. Educate them on appropriate measures to take. Engage local partners to participate and share our prevention. Now we're going to find out how those are the objectives. Now we should be tiering our methods to those objectives. Use all traditional methods not social media related. Good, do all those. Social media methods, monitor local partners, VFDs, regional forestry, tourist officers in the park, via social media, see what local concerns are and what's trending. That's the situational awareness. Use Hootsuite, TweetDeck, and Tagboard. Is that another aggregator? Okay. Create local Facebook page. Use it to link to all the local partners and promote those pages and get new followers. Create a Twitter feed and a hashtag or a few related to the effort. Promote it via local media and other SM. Partnering. Create a happening based on the social local mobility with the help of the QR code. Good new idea. Create a blog on Blogger. Daily updates, links to weather, event announcements in the event of fires. Create a YouTube channel, upload videos with prevention practices, PSAs, and promote those on other tools. Archiving analytics, Meltwater. Meltwater used to be called Ice Rocket. I think Meltwater bought Ice Rocket. Ice Rocket was a good one for media, but it also lets you search for blog posts. You can search either, you can have it give you the title of the blog or anything contained in a blog. So if you look under blogs, it can, I forget when you do an advanced search or.
Right now I'm doing a blog search. I could break it down by Twitter, Facebook, or search all of them.
Or maybe it's Technorati I'm thinking of. There's another search.
Technorati is another tool.
Lets you search by
similarly.
both what's contained in the blog, because if I put SMEM and no one has that as the title of their post, it won't find it. If I say I want the content, it'll find it in the content of the post. And that's how you listen to blogs you've never heard of anywhere in the country that are talking about you.
This is Technorati.
You know what? They just closed. I just remember that. Technorati just closed. That's why this is not.
Says I can log in. Who knows?
No, it's a different company now. Anyway, Google Analytics, Twitter Analytics, Facebook Insights, NetVibes. That's another one to look into to evaluate prevalence on the web. Use Google Drive to archive internal communication. All social media tools created and used for this campaign will be monitored during the entirety of our operational period, be used in the spirit of engaging the community in constant two-way communication. They have the objective right. And they're now waiting for some Maine assignments. So if anyone here in Maine would like to bring our Canadian friends from the Empire down here, we'll be waiting for them. Okay. Any more comments from anyone anyone online? Send it back somewhere, either in Skype or in on the chat line. Any comments from anyone else? Questions? Because we are at an end.
Here's your close plan.
I plan to close. Let's see. Oh, can you put up a Word doc and just put our email addresses on there? We'll give you, we'll keep the SMEM folder. We'll stay up there with stuff in it. We may, after about a week, take down the roster. So
What I'll do is I will leave the roster up there, but I will erase everybody's information that's in there right now. That way, if anybody's watching a month from now or whatnot, you can still use it, but it's going to be a blank document only for you to play with or the.
But if you
whoever
want
else.
to be able to email people in this class, I suggest that sometime before, say, next week, you go download it to your computer as an Excel document or something, so you'll have that information, and then when we erase it, it'll be gone. Is that?
Yeah, I already shot it to Instagram.
Oh, excellent. Good, good. So Sean's already shared it. Nicely done.
What was
Nicely
your
done.
email?
K. Erickson. No,
Whoa, that's really good.
ERIAKSEN at fs.fed.us. And Nathan will put his. So if you need to email us or ask us any questions or follow up on what we're doing today, please feel free to shoot us an email. We would love to have some feedback, either through our email or through the Nemo team's email, whichever way you want to do it, on things we could change, ways we could make this better, content you didn't have. Online people, we already know about day one. You don't have to tell us about the start of day one. I think we fixed that. I'd like some feedback from the online audience, if they're about whether this was a reasonable tool to use for this kind of training, if that worked, or if it would be better that people online were in groups. Would that be a better thing to try? And from the people in the classroom, any comments or things you have, you don't have to tell us now, although you're welcome to. And it's nice if there any feedback that you give us or emails you send us allows us to forward them to Nathan's boss or my boss for allowing us to come here and do this, and for Nathan's boss covering his salary to be here and them not having to pay him to be here. That's a nice thing for them to do. So that said, I don't anything else?
I just support what Chris said. It's been a pleasure working with all of you guys here in the room and with those remotely. For those in the room, I have business cards up here in the front. Feel free to take those. And we're very busy, but if you need something, I would be more than happy to help you out and try to answer any questions, anything that came up. I also encourage you to send me an email. I added our Twitter handles there. You can use those as well. Thank you for having us out. You have a question?
Yeah.
Here, do you need
On behalf of the prevention working team, which there's a few of us here, the Compact and the rest of the people that are here and all our virtual people, thank you to all four of you, Brent, Serena, Chris, Nathan. We worked hard. We really did.
And
Everybody
Roxy.
said that.
And Roxy,
And I gotta
absolutely.
tell you, you guys worked hard. You were in here early, you were here at night. We couldn't believe you actually got the Tuesday morning session all done all over again. That's great. And you really slanted it towards us for prevention, and I can't believe your patience, especially with me. So, thank you so very much. You guys are great.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, Brent. Is it off? Okay, and then hang on just a minute once we get off air.